Hello students. So today we are going to learn a new chapter, that is the living world, adaptation and classification. The chapter is divided into two parts. The first part which you are going to learn today is about the adaptation in plants. Now since we are going to learn about living world, you can see the entire world, all the species around the world with different adaptation, maybe desert adaptation, maybe in cold climatic condition, or very temperate climate, all different climatic conditions. And also you can see another image, the flower blooming and a firefly coming towards it. Now, what are the content we are going to learn? Now, in the content part, we are going to learn about adaptation, that is introduction part of it, then adaptation in plants, like adaptation in aquatic plants, that is plants in water, adaptation in desert plants, plants found in desert region, adaptation in plants of snowy region, that is plants found in the cold regions, adaptation in plants of forest region, maybe temperate, tropical, different forest climatic conditions, adaptation in grassland plants where the plants grass is quite tall enough, or maybe in vast meadows it is short. Then finally adaptation for ingestion of food in plants. Okay, now just so you can see a few animation, like a student observing a microscope, or becoming a microbiologist in future, like some of you may be a doctor, scientist, agriculturist, right? Various fields are there which you can choose based on your interest. Okay, now coming to the introduction part of the chapter, adaptation. Now first point, gradual changes occur in the body parts and also in the behavior of organism which help them to adjust to their surrounding. Such changes are called adaptation. Now what does this gradual change means? Changes which takes place slowly in our body part according to the surrounding. Now, if you don't adjust to the surrounding, then it will be difficult to survive. So it is always necessary to adjust and acclimatize according to the situation. If I give a small example, if it is winter season, what we do? We wear sweaters, right? If it is rainy season, we use raincoats, umbrellas. If it is summer season, we wear cotton clothes or light clothes. So we change in general. So similarly in all the living organism, it is necessary to change according to the climatic conditions or the surrounding. Second point, they take place over a long period of time. So it is not that in one day it will change, or 1 week or a month. It may take a year also to change. So it is a slow and steady change. That's why the term given as gradual change. So if you see the animation images which I have put, the first you can see a rabbit. In cold it is white with the fur on it, and in summer we can see there is no fur around it. So the species of rabbit which is found in the regions where it is desert, or the climate is hot, where they don't have any fur as such. The one which is found in the cold climatic region, they have a white fur over the body. Second, you can see here the touch me not plant, that is Mimosa pudica. Right, now this Mimosa pudica or pudicea as you spell it, you can see when you touch it, it immediately starts to close, right? So it is that's why the name is touch me not plant. So it is again with the sensation it closes itself. Then here third image, you can see the Venus flytrap. The flies which come and sits on it, immediately it closes and traps, and the species does not survive thereafter. Then fourth one, this also you are very familiar with, that is chameleon changing the color. You can see it is green in color, and then the color changes to purple. So depending on the surrounding, if it is in sitting in branches, it may change to brown in color, or if it is near to plants, it may change to green in color. So according to the surrounding, it can change its coloration, which we use the term camouflage, which we will be learning a little bit more in detail further. Now coming to the fourth slide. Now we are going to learn in detail about each of the adaptation in plants. So first one we can learn about adaptation in aquatic plants. So I have put all things in point wise, so it will be easier for you to learn and remember. Some of the aquatic plants are firmly rooted in the soil at the bottom of the water bodies. Their stems are submerged while leaves and flowers float on the surface. Now here aquatic plants are usually the water plants. The roots of these plants, they are firmly rooted in the soil, so that because of the waves in the water it may not uproot, so it is firmly rooted in the soil. Also the plant stem part is usually submerged, means inside the water, but the leaves and the flowers, they usually float on the surface. Now as example you can see the animation image in case of lotus over here, which is floating in water along with the leaves, right? Second point, some plants are entirely afloat, means there are again in different types in water plants. Some plants may remain submerged under the water, some plants may float in water also, not rooted in the soil. So the roots are not anchored in the soil. The surface of the leaves and stems of many aquatic plants are covered with a waxy layer. Now why waxy layer? Now if you know, if it is in water for a longer duration, it starts to get rotted, right? Or it starts to spoil out, right? If you see in the house, when mother keeps vegetables, she wash it and removes out. Now in case if anything is lying in water for a longer time, it starts to decompose, right? So you can see here leaves of the lotus plant, it is floating in water and the water is not absorbed by it. If the water drops it, you can see remain on the top of the leaf. So it has, because of the waxy layer, it remains fresh for a longer duration of time, so it does not get spoiled. Next, leaves of some aquatic plants are thin and slender like a ribbon. This shape helps them to withstand fast currents of water. So there are many examples of water plants. If I just add a few like Hydra, Vallisneria, so they are all having very thin leaf which is ribbon like. So if there is a fast currents in water, movement in water, so this can overcome these fast currents. Then lastly, air spaces in stems and petioles of aquatic plants are useful for floating in water. Now what does airspace means? So there is small cavities present in the stems. So you can see here the image which is there in the textbook as well. The lotus plant, if you make a cut or a section of the stem, you can see inner small pores present or holes present. So these stems, or we can also call as a petiole part of aquatic plants, helps to float in water. Okay. Now coming to the next adaptation, that is adaptation in desert plants. Now as you know, desert, very less water, rainfall, very hot climatic condition, right? Now desert plants are either leafless or the leaves are like small needles or have been modified into thorns. As a result, they lose very little water by evaporation. Now if you see all the plants in our surrounding, they got leaves. The leaves are of different shape, size, etc. But in case of desert, if the leaves are present, then because of evaporation, what is the other term, biological term? Transpiration. So water will be lost. But the plants can't lose water, because if they lose water, they will dry, they will not survive. So these leaves are modified into spines or thorns, because of which they don't lose water, or they may not have leaves, or the leaves are present, they may be very small, or in certain cases the leaves may be large, but again it will be a very thick layer, again by a waxy coating. Okay, now you can see in this first image where you can see cactus plant and thorns on it or spines on it. So if you see small surface area minimizes evaporation, so very less evaporation, and the spines instead of leaves, which is a modification in desert plants. Okay, then the stem stores water and food and is therefore fleshy. So if you see this cactus plants, they have got spines or thorns, but they are fleshy, and because of which they store water and food. Third point, the stems are green as they perform photosynthesis in the absence of leaves. Now as we read just now, there are no leaves or very small, so leaves are not there, then photosynthesis may not take place. That is why the stem is green in color. They can carry out the photosynthesis in the absence of leaves. Now just to add a point, now in plants, whether it is leaf or stem or other parts, even seeds, if they are green in color, that means they will have chlorophyll. If they have got chlorophyll, then they will carry out photosynthesis. Okay. Further, their roots penetrate deep into the soil, and some roots spread away in the soil in search of water. Now again, as we know, there is water shortage in the desert region, so the roots of the desert plants, they go very deep into the soil, or they spread out so as to get maximum water or in search of water. Lastly, there is a thick layer of waxy substance on the stems of these plants. Again, to avoid evaporation or transpiration, these waxy layer are present over the stems. Okay, now you can see second animation image. Now this animation image which I added, you can see all the different type of cactus, whether it is long, whether it is branched, whether it is semicircular, circular, thin, spherical, all different shapes of cactus you can see in this particular animation image, and along with their flowers also in certain species. Okay, now coming to the next step, that is adaptation in snowy region, that is cold regions. Now here the plants of snowy regions mainly include conifers like deodar and pine. Now this deodar and pine, if you observe both the images which I have put up over here, in the first case the plant as well as their fruit, now their fruit appears like a cone, and over here pine, which is again conical in shape, again their fruits, they are cone shape and longer. In the center you can see the image part of the deodar tree which is there in the text. Now these trees are conical in shape due to their sloping branches. So that is one type of adaptation. Or if I give one best example, the Christmas tree, right? It is conical, cone shape or triangular. So in case of cold regions, when there is a snowfall, it falls onto the plant through the leaves as it is curved edges. So it falls off the plants. Otherwise, suppose it is flat, or if the plants which are there around us, if the snow falls, what happens? The entire plants will be covered and the plants may get spoiled or decomposed, or it may affect the plant growth. Now here, even if you observe the leaves, they are pointed, so the possibility of snow resting on it will be lesser, or it will fall off from the plants after some time. In the heavy snowfall and extreme cold, in these regions, the conical shape prevents the snow from accumulating on the tree, and thick bark helps the tree to withstand the cold. So because of the conical shape, because of the thin pointed leaves, because of the thick bark, the snow, if it falls on it, it will not accumulate and it will fall off the plants later on. And also because of thick bark, it will withstand the cold climatic conditions. Clear? Now coming to the next adaptation, that is adaptation in plants of forest region. Now in forest, as we know, there are various types of plants, species, animals, right? Some we might have not seen also because of the condition over there, light, water, all things are available, so we can find all types of plants. Now coming to the first point, a variety of plants, that is trees, shrubs, herbs, are found in the forest. Now as the names are given, trees, we can see all the larger trees, maybe of different heights, maybe it may be 10 meter in height or 100 meter in height, like the coniferous trees, or shrubs and herbs which may be 2 to 3 meters in height, or just 1 meter in height or less than that, right? So all these different shapes and sizes of plants are found in the forest region. these plants compete among themselves for sunlight. Why compete? Because if you have seen a forest, unlike our city where the plants are few in number, we can countable number, but in forest it is thick cover of plants throughout the forest, so that means there will be competition for light, food, everything, correct? So specifically the tall plants are there, it will not allow the light to go down to the plants which are there in the ground level, so because of which certain plants may not get sufficient sunlight. So then what happens? So hence these trees grow tall to get the sunlight, and climbers and vines grow to a greater height with the support of the trees. So what is adaptation here? The other plants also grow tall, or the plants climbers which may hold on to the other plants, curl around them and start climbing on them. Climbing on them is a term given because it coils and starts to grow on them. That's why the name given as climbers, which you can see just a small example. The animation image you can see in the center of the climber, how it is growing through the plants. Whereas vines, you can see they got tendril, small thin spring like part which keeps on holding to the strings attached or other plants in the nearby vicinity. If I give few examples, suppose if you are having plants at home, most commonly we have seen money plant, right? We keep some long wooden bark, etc. So or onto the grills, they keep holding on to it and start growing on them. Or in case of bitter gourd or pea plant, vatana, these plants they got these tendrils, or pumpkin. So these plants, because with the help of the tendrils, they again coil around the nearby substratum or whichever plants are present and start to grow on them. Okay. The next point, the spring-like tendrils on the stems of some climbers is an example of adaptation. So that is also a type of adaptation. Now, the next type is adaptation in grassland plants. Here, the first point, diverse types of bushes and grasses are found in the grassland. So in this type, there are many different types of bushes and grasses. When you say grasses, it can be tall, it can be medium in size, or it can be short in size. Also, the second point, the fibrous root of the grasses prevent soil erosion. What do you mean by soil erosion? The soil will not get uprooted from the above part of the layer of ground. Otherwise, if the grasses are not there, then in case of heavy rainfall, the upper part of the soil may get eroded, causing soil erosion. Third point, forests in the equatorial region are dense. When you mean by dense, means completely covered by plantation. Throughout the region, there will be different type of plants. Then, animals like tiger, elephants and deer can remain hidden in these grasses. Now, if you take tiger or lion, leopard, all these animals, they hide in these grasses to catch the prey, that is deer or different type of antelopes, etc. Whereas these deers or antelopes, rabbits, they hide in the grasses to escape from the predators like lion, tiger, leopard, panther, etc. Now you can see in the image where tall grasses are there. In between you can see a deer with a long ear trying to see whether any predators are present. So in case of any movement, they escape into the grasses, so it will be not seen, which you can see over here, two deers running and jumping into the grasses. So once they jump into the grasses, it is not visible where they are. Similarly, on the upper image where you can see smaller grasses where rabbits they usually hide, that is, these are the vast meadows which are found in the hilly regions. Okay, and here the first image is a grassland where you can see bison, they are grazing the land along with some other animals. Okay, next point. However, grasses in cold regions are very short, as I just mentioned in case of the rabbit which is hiding in the grasses. Animals like the rabbit are found in such grasses. Vast meadows are found in hilly regions as well as plains. The next type of adaptation is adaptation for ingestion of food in the plants. What do you mean by ingestion? Simply means taking in of the food. Now in case of animals or humans, we take in the food and put it in the mouth, ingest the food, right? But in plants also, certain types of species can ingest the food. So first point, most of the plants are anchored in the ground and are autotrophic. Now what does that mean? Plants, as all of you have seen, they are attached to the ground. The roots, they go deep into the ground, absorb water and nutrients, and they are autotrophic, means they have got chlorophyll. With the help of chlorophyll, they carry out photosynthesis, right? But some plants like dodder, that is cuscuta, are parasitic, which you can see. I put the image over here. The plant body of dodder consists of yellow wire-like stems. It is leafless and cannot perform photosynthesis. However, it has hostorial sucking roots for absorbing nutrients from the host plant. These roots penetrate up to the conducting vessels of the host plant to absorb water and food. Now if you observe this image carefully, there is a yellow wire-like structure surrounded to another plant, right? So this cuscuta does not have a leaf, or it is not green in color, because of which they cannot carry out photosynthesis, so they cannot prepare their own food. What is their color? Yellow, right? Now because of yellow color, they don't have any green pigment for photosynthesis, but they have got special type of sucking root, which is called as hostorial root. Now these root, they penetrate into the plants where they are on it, and they penetrate into their conducting vessel. What is this conducting vessel? You might have heard about xylem and phloem. Xylem, which carries the water, whereas phloem, which conducts the food, right? So this root, that is hostorial root of this cuscuta plant, penetrate into the conducting system, absorb the water and food from the plant where they are present on it. Okay, then next is what? Fungi. Fungi do not have chlorophyll and cannot perform photosynthesis. They obtain the food from starchy foodstuff like bakri and bread. They have root-like fibers for absorption of food. Now fungi, again, they are not having any chlorophyll. Because they are not having chlorophyll, again they cannot perform photosynthesis, so they cannot perform any photosynthesis, so no food is obtained. So what they do, they are found on the starchy foodstuff like bakri or bread. If I give a small example, bread. Now all of you might have be eating bread, right? Now whenever the bread, if it is there for a more period of time, if you have seen the expiry date, if there is in 1 or 2 days after it gets the expiry date, you can see white layer being formed, right? So immediately you have to throw it. Why? What is this white layer? It is the fungi or fungus growth on the bread. Or similarly, it can be in bakri, even it can be in fruits, vegetables, if it is there for a longer period of time. So they have got root fibers which absorb the food from this part of the foodstuff. Okay, then plants need nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium for growth. Now remember these terms. The nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So it can be NPP, or in chemistry it is nitrogen N, phosphorus P, potassium it is K actually. Okay, so these three components are very, very important for plants. If these things are not there, then the growth of the plants may be affected. Even they need all other elements also. You might have learned about many other important components, right? So but these three are the major ones for the growth. Same way how we need different types of food, vitamins, minerals for our growth, for strength, right? Now, so the plants grow in soil which is deficient in nitrogen, like Drosera sundew or Venus flytrap, pitcher plant, etc. fulfill their need for nitrogen by consuming insects. Adaptation are seen in these plants which serve to attract insects and hold them captive. So if you see here, I put the image of Drosera sundew, where the fly, once it comes and sits on it, because of the coloration, attraction, or the present of small amount of chemical component on it, so it gets attracted. So once it comes and sits on it, it gets stuck, and the Drosera completely holds it, okay, by curling on it. Similarly, picture plant, you can see where the rat, not only insects but rat, spider, they get trapped into it, and the nutrients are absorbed from this rat. And also in case of Venus flytrap, which was seen in the beginning, so from these animals they obtain the important nutrients, okay. So I think it is clear, all of you, whatever we have learned. So thank you all of you. I think it will help you for your revision part. So you can see here, student planting the trees, putting water every day. So you have to take care of your plants. Okay. So thank you all of you.